to the May meeting of the Albany Port District Commission. We'll do roll call. My name is Georgette Steffens and I'm the chair.
Joe Coffey, Commissioner.
Dominic Tagliano, Commissioner.
Richard Hendrick, CEO.
Patrick Jordan, General Counsel.
Megan Daly, Chief Commerce Officer.
Christine Studo, Chief Financial Officer.
Angela, Administrative Assistant.
Cheryl Stock, Director of Security.
Roddy Yeagan, Senior Construction Project Manager.
Penny Bavor, Director of External Affairs.
John Shino, Director of Strategic Initiatives.
All right, thank you so much. Everyone received a copy of the minutes from our April commission meeting. Are there any edits or suggested changes?
Motion to adopt.
Oh, thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I see that we have no members of the public, so we'll move on. But before I do that, we don't mean to take some of probably Penny's comments, but I did just want to recognize, I know a lot of what we try to do here is have a, be that economic impact for the region, but we also focus on our community. And so the port staff have been involved in a couple initiatives as of late, and I just want to thank you for really being part of the community. And one was the Earth Day cleanup at Cherry Hill, historic Cherry Hill, and the other was the Yeagan truck pull. I'm sure you're going to talk about that a little bit later, but that was extremely exciting to see. The one we've done often, and the other, I was disappointed to have missed the Earth Day, but it is important that we continue to be part of the community that we reside in, as well as, I know you'll also probably talk about it, but the 2025 Safety Initiative grant funding that we received, and so that's really exciting as well. So a lot of big things have been going on, but a lot of smaller stuff that have just as much impact have been going on. So I just wanted to recognize the staff and the team for that. So I will turn it over to Christine for the financial update.
Okay. So we're looking at the preliminary results through April 30th, 2025. I'm going to look at the actual to budget year-to-date first. So our operating revenues are 3% above the budget. So there is an increase of $65,000. Our operating expense are below budget by 2%, or about $40,000. So our operating income over expenses before other items is a positive variance of $150,000 at $103,791. Our depreciation and other expenses are just slightly under budget year to date, 7% variance or $190,000, and our budget to actual change in that position has a variance of $2.65 million, and that directly correlates to our capital grant revenue. Year-to-date budget was $3 million, and we only spent $210,000, and that's just a timing issue for the grants. And if we look at what we expect, where we expect to be at the end of the year, we expect to be for operating revenue above or over budget by $111,000. We have a few slightly under budget and a few over budget items. The majority of that 110 is in stevedore and crane rental. And the other thing is, and I should have mentioned this when we were looking at the year-to-date other services and revenue, we received a $23,000 settlement for normal trucking, so that's why we're over budget on that item by $24,000. For operating expenses, at the end of the year, we expect to be coming under budget by $281,000. All of our line items are under budget, projected to be under budget, with the exception of repairs, maintenance, and utilities. We've had some high dollar repairs. We had $9,000 repair at DEC to Colony Mechanical. We replaced carpeting in the administration building, that was $6,000. We also have been started to receive water and sewer bills for the expansion site that we had not previously budgeted, so we'll be over budget on that as well. Our depreciation expense is on budget, and that makes net depreciation and other expenses are on budget projected for the end of the year. For the projection for the end of the year, our change in net position, we expect to be, just slightly over budget by $115,000, or at 1.37 million positive change in net position. So there's not anything real, earth shattering, which is good. We'll continue to, challenge our expenses and to make sure that we're not exceeding the revenue coming in this year. Any questions?
Numbers look good. I just had kind of an incidental question. I'm looking at your like security, safety costs and education and training. Do we have a formal safety training program?
Yes, the maintenance and operations team uses both PERMA and Marshall Sterling to go through safety programs.
Just share with
Yep.
me what those safety
Yep.
training programs are. I'm kind of curious.
What it
Because
includes.
we look at, like, from the best practices, what other entities are doing for safety training for people, so I'm just kind of curious what we're doing down here at the port. Thank you.
Any other questions for Christine? All right, I'll turn it over to you, Rich.
Thank you. Well, other than trying to stay dry for the month, it's been fairly busy. We had 2 members attend the APA Leadership Conference last week in Milwaukee. One also presented at the conference, Pat, on the legal committee, and Christine on developing further leadership qualities and capabilities. I'd like to just mention and give a little shout out to Eileen Prashone, her diligent work on our ESD grant, which is tough, to meet the paperwork and requirements, but resulted in approval and payment on our one grant. So it was about $1 million that we received for the work that we've done over the past few years on that grant. The docks are in up at the Jennings Landing and the Corning Preserve for local people to be able to enjoy fishing from the shoreline, and also to give some day travelers a possibility to tighter yachts up and maybe go into downtown and enjoy some of the scenery. We're working, as Penny had said, with the docks in place now. We'll be able to host one of the Erie Canal boats that is coming down, if they get the canal open, to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Erie Canal. So that'll be going on in September or October. And we continue to meet with the Navy, the Coast Guard, and every other involved agency on the Sail 250. In fact, there was a meeting this morning working towards the celebration that'll begin on July 1st and run through the 5th or 6th of July 2026 for the 250th anniversary of the country. As I said in the past, we are going to have a couple Navy ships here as part of that festival, and we're still working on all the logistics with the Navy on opening the ships to the public view. That's about it.
I think that's really exciting to have the port be part of that. I think that's gonna be great. I imagine you all are working through the security part of how people access
Yes.
that and with our cargo and stuff.
Yeah, and all of that will be hosted down at the south end on the new wharfs that are in at the Barton Mills area.
Oh, great.
So
Oh,
we
so it
can,
won't be in the fencing area.
it shouldn't be too impactful if we have ships
Yeah.
at the north
Oh,
end.
great. That's gonna be really great. Any Any questions for Rich? Alright, Penny, sorry if I stole some of your
No,
thunder,
it's
but
all
I'll turn it
good.
over to you.
It's all good. The more conversation about it, the better. And yes, totally agree. I feel like it has been a great mix of big announcements and small announcements and it's been nice to be able to get the attention on both. Because of the RPI, we've gotten, some media inquiries from, industry publications that wouldn't normally be looking at us, so that was great. In addition, it was nice to put out the effort that John Rosa and his team put together for the perma grant. So, and as you say, we've been, at and, hosting a number of community events, including the Earth Day, the Dayton Truck Pull, we also had a really successful green marine event. That was nice to not only show off what the port does for environmental sustainability, but also to hear from, tenants, what they're working on. This morning, the Foreign Trade Zone, webinar happened in partnership with, again, the similar partners that we had last year. We're working with Discover Albany. And so there's a lot of things moving, which is always great. And from the marketing collateral side, we are, still having fun fine tuning our website, and trying to keep it fresh, and looking at some new collateral, so moving in all sorts of good directions.
What kind of traffic are we getting on the website? Do you have
You know,
analytics on it?
it's funny that you mentioned that, so we're a month out, essentially. I'm like, so what does this mean, a month out? And so I was talking to our web people, and they said, well, it gives you a baseline, but really start tracking for 3 months out, 6 months out, and you're looking at specific indicators, so independent, unique visitors, duration of visit, all that kind of good stuff. So that's what I wanna work on in this next month, is to bring people in, but also have them click around a little bit and extend the duration of their
I'm
visit.
curious what the analytics look like after a certain time frame, if you may report
Yes.
some of those figures.
And actually, I was gonna include it in the monthly report, just so you could start to see what the trends are there.
Thank you.
I mean, you can probably also, right, track your social media or LinkedIn, whatever, however you guys are posting some
Right.
of that and what engagement you're having.
And where traffic is coming in, obviously, this
Right.
last month, it was, a lot of direct traffic from the RFEI release and how that went out. But again, I think it's fascinating to sort of see what pages people go to and I think universally, I know I've experienced, because our, contact information is more front and center, that I've been getting more direct inquiries. So I feel like that's another good, bid toward transparency that meets a lot of our, the budget, the authority's budget office requirements, Green Marine and so on, so. But yes, I'll happily share some
Our
graphics.
communications guy, Steve Mercier, prepares a monthly report to our board. And it's kind of just like a one-page PowerPoint thing. It's got a lot of stuff. Kind of takes a lot of his narrative and puts it into a graphic.
Can I
And
steal it?
Yeah, I'm gonna share it with you.
Oh, perfect.
It's a nice, it's a good mechanism to just interact with the board. And it gives him a chance to highlight his activities, and he likes to, it's a bragging opportunity. He
Yeah,
should
there you
brag,
go.
he gets a lot done. He's
That's
done-
what my whole position is.
Yeah, it's, and the board loves that report, so I'll
That's
share it
great.
with you guys.
Does that
Thank you.
include your project information too? When you have the project info and you have the air monitoring, was that all part of that too?
It depends on what he wants to promote
Gotcha.
that month, but it's a lot of metrics, some analytics on social media and just kind of key activities and stuff, so. And we're always looking for suggestions to improve it, so if you see stuff, hey, how about, be interested in getting that feedback as well. We'd love to share that with you. Yeah, sure.
Please, thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. Any other questions for Penny? Alright, so Matt's not here,
Right, Matt's not here, but there is a report in the packet, that his team, and our team put together. I don't think that there's anything, too big to highlight, except for, steady activity, April and May, and we are still looking ahead to, hopefully having that cargo come through in the months ahead. I'd also just note from a business development perspective, we've had a couple interactions in the last month or so where they've asked us, we've had some coordination between our team and Logistec on, potential, activity that we would need to give them some pricing on related to outside the, terminal, so they're trying. We'd like to see the fruits of that effort come to fruition, but still in the works.
Any possibility of getting the report to expand so that it's similar to what we've had in the over year
Yes.
information?
Yeah, we have worked on it, but it's a timing issue. We're trying to narrow it down with Logic to be able to get the information, so that we have the year-over-year information.
I mean, we got the stuff from last year, so it shouldn't be too hard to, on that spreadsheet, just to have that,
Yeah.
those charts kind of pop up. It'd just be
And
helpful
we're-
for
We're
trending.
trying to work with Matt to get, make sure.
Yeah, trending would be helpful, thank you.
It's also nice to see the safety record number continuing to increase. Always wanna see that,
You know,
days without lost time.
I had a board meeting, this is just anecdotal on always when you post that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we've got multiple units in the water department, so we're posting the days since the last lost time. So I have one of them that we probably haven't had an incident since we've been recording it.
Wow.
So I posted, publish it, talk about the board meeting. The next day, the guy cuts his hand out of the beaker and I don't know,
Oh my
geez.
Oh my gosh, you
Thankfully,
just it.
I said, come on up, I'll take care of you. You're not gonna go to the hospital, you're not gonna miss any time. So we had bandage on his arm the size of a small plane. So I'm only kidding. So I always get kind of nervous when I'm looking at that stuff, but it's a nice noteworthy number to have that.
I remember
That
Bill saying
amount of
that,
time
too.
with a safety record, that's really notable, especially for this business, so.
Definitely, actually,
Good job for the one short.
John, when we're out in our, with visiting the tenants, it's prime
Yeah,
place
it's
to
Something to be
have to-
proud of, too.
definitely.
Okay, so turn it over to Megan and then Roddy.
Yeah, so I'll keep it relatively brief in this segment because, Roddy will have some more in some of the resolutions, and I do have a couple of items for executive session because of negotiations. But just a couple updates here, on your point related to community participation. I do wanna mention, we participated in, the Mayor's Youth Employment Challenge. The city of Albany is one of 6 cities in the country that's doing this youth employment challenge, where they work with, not the city, but the regional youth on, employment, job training, other activities, and, they invite businesses in. And so there was a session a couple weeks ago where we participated in that. As a result, there is an upcoming meeting with one of their workforce, people and with one of the, port, friends and neighbors, not a tenant, but a friend and neighbor. So we've had some success with some of that and some of the, port tenants and friends and neighbors, so to speak. So there's more to come on that, what the city's doing, but, we just wanted to mention that. And for me, it was really cool to see and hear what the youth were saying related to, employment going forward, even the city going forward, and other aspects related to that. We did actually say if there's a chance to have an out report from that and what the end result is for the city, I think our businesses and neighbors would benefit from hearing what that is, what that looks like, but that's still in the works.
So speaking of the youth, are you gonna talk about the challenge, the summer youth,
You talk about Kidland?
We can.
cause they won, right?
Right.
They won?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
So it was exciting that both the high school team and the middle school team won their divisions from Worlds, which was in Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona. And the port is their only sponsor. So it's kind of nice to sort of be front and center on that. There is a legacy of a lot of support from GE and NYSERDA and that sort of stuff. So it feels like there's a great partnership that we're cementing with them.
Yeah.
So, and now there's another teacher who's coming to the area. There's this one gentleman, Jim Brown, who he's really been advocating for the project, for the teams to participate. And so now I think he feels that he has a successor. So it's nice that it'll continue on.
Oh, it's really exciting that both of the teams won.
And we did ask them, is there a way that we could help, shine a light on this? Either doing it through Port Industry Day or doing it distinct and leverage business discussion on it, because we do have a lot of business that comes through related to onshore wind, and there's regional business activity, as we know, with onshore wind, no matter what happens with offshore wind. But so he seemed to open up to, how that will take shape, so thanks for
Yeah,
highlighting
no,
that.
it's a big deal to send regional kids and win a national competition like that.
Yeah. Speaking of that, and wind, related to the expansion site, we have been having follow-up related to the request for expression of interest that's out. It's still out, as a reminder. We put a long,
Yeah, when is it
lead
due?
time on that. It's due the end of June. So we've all been, doing our best to market that or expose that, for wind and not wind. I participated in a New York, New Jersey offshore wind supply chain event. John participated in the IPF, offshore wind. We both feel, chime in if you'd like to, but that there's a lot of long game positivity talk there, which we get and we can support, and that may be, inclusive, or it may be distinct from what ends up happening with our site. But we've also had a number of site visits, as part of this open procurement for the expansion. We have a couple more scheduled, in the next couple weeks, so we feel like one way or another, this effort with the RFEI, is going to be telling for us and others, in terms of the results that we get.
So what's our window? What's our desired window to make a decision on the direction our property is gonna go? You say it's a long game for wind. It's long.
You're right.
I mean, the political reality is that it's at least 3.5 years, before you're likely gonna see any change in emphasis on renewables with the current administration, so. I guess it's just trying to ground truth, what our time frame is when we get thoughts from these potential expressions of interest.
Well, and to your point though about the window, there's also a sense of potential reshoring or manufacturing that might come. That's also a long play. There's, in some of these recent meetings that we had, there's folks saying that there may be interest in setting up new manufacturing in this country that would be otherwise not occurring.
Well, the new tax regulations that they're looking to change, right, to be able to claim 100% of, so
Yeah.
they're looking to do for manufacturing.
But that's also longer. I think these results that we get or don't get will contribute to this conversation, my opinion, but I think this takes a couple of considerations is, due to the way that we've invested, we wanna maximize what we get out of this. Our picture was always big. We were using phrases like generational impact, and I still think that's what we want to see. The Port's mission has always been largely involving economic impact. I do think we can carry the costs for a little bit longer than we may be able to on some other properties.
But that's what I'm asking, what is that time frame that we're willing to carry some cost? Because anything, and I'm not an anything person, but something greater than zero is desirable. How long are we gonna wait to get something to just carry costs? I just want us to be realistic on what these opportunities are. The information we get back from these responses are gonna provide us some open challenges and thoughts, kind of thought-provoking to make a good informed decision. Nobody would like everybody wants a generational impact project, but I just need to be kind of realistic.
Yeah.
It's worth mentioning too, the RFEI explicitly is open to and enticing both kinds of proposals, ones for short-term uses and long-term uses. So if there was an operation that needed laydown and storage and there wasn't much required, and potentially it only used a portion of the site, that's a use case I think that would be appealing or interesting to us as a short-term sort of scenario.
That's a really good point too, about that we do still have outstanding a grant application associated with the site that's toward building high, high capacity wharf. Now, we get the sense that that grant could still be awarded, we don't know when, but that was related to long-term offshore wind use. We did note that in the RFEI as well, and we noted, the use of maritime as a key point.
I think that we talked about the finances of that property in a while, right? And what are we covering,
What are the
how are we
carrying
paying
costs?
for it, what does
Yeah.
that look like that should be part of that discussion.
I
As a
think
board
that's a
member,
good
I mean,
point.
you guys are probably in it all the time, right?
Yeah.
So you know that, but
We don't
we
see
haven't
those.
talked about it in a while.
And from your perspective, that also helps from a, you know, directional, you know, aspect. So I think that's something in the next 2 months that we could put together, and I think that's helpful feedback. And just one more point, I think that we are also looking at the federal grants that are open and exploring, you know, if there's something there to help support, infrastructure construction at the port or not. You know, right now, we're looking at there is a port infrastructure development program grant open, it's not due till September. We're taking a look at what are our needs as well as what's competitive. And, you know, we'll look at that as a team. I have a sense that that may be more successful related to current operations versus the expansion, but we're taking a look at that. And then otherwise, if we could have a discussion in executive session.
Sure.
please.
Are you, so I know we sort of talked about, the impacts of the back and forth of tariffs, right, and like, were people even ready at this point to commit to, you know, anything, or like, what kind of feedback when you're touring, or when you're hearing from people that they don't move forward, or whatever, like, or I guess maybe even talk about that when we get all the proposals, right, like the timing, I don't know that when the timing will be good, but the timing just seems hard, right?
I appreciate that comment because that was the sense that I was getting from companies that we talked to, and in these different sessions we've been participating in, almost as if people are waiting and seeing. But then I wanted to test myself and test us and talk with real estate brokers, you know, the biggest one in the country, to say, are you doing deals? You know, are you getting that sense? And they remarked that they are seeing deals, still substantial ones. And so that was something to consider in this, the long term, and where and how it would be successful. Another reason why I think the results of this will be important to next steps.
Yeah, or if people are like, hey, in 6 months I can give you a better idea, right, like that feedback is helpful.
Yes.
Right, if there's tenants that we were interested in, that they're like, I can't tell you right now, but if that's good information.
We've not heard that, but also I think people are careful during a procurement window, you know, and we have that with our,
Yeah.
you know, this procurement in terms of, you know, the coordination on this. You know, we did have on there, it's open to tour, and we do that. So I don't know if there's any carefulness to that, or we might not now, but we would in 6 months, and if we get that the day after it was due, I don't know. That's a really good point.
I've heard a lot of technical questions, but then again, of course, I'm gonna hear the technical
Right.
questions. And there's a eye towards what the approval process looks like and the timing of that. We're conscientious to make sure that what they're gonna propose could have a quicker turnaround for re-permitting, or, you know, showing that it's aligned with whatever approvals we already have.
Yeah.
That's more the technical side than
Certainty
the
of
commercial.
outcome.
Thank you. Right, so we'll go into executive session later.
Okay, thank you.
So the next item is, I don't know if it was a meeting or 2 ago, we talked about the procurement, policy. Pat, took a look at that, really comments that Joe and I had, at that meeting, and has made a new proposal. Do you wanna go through it? I felt like you incorporated the things that I had requested, I don't know.
I'm hoping we incorporated all the comments.
Yeah, I thought you did, nice job.
That were, said at the committee meeting last month. The chart that is in there is what, Jessica uses internally, and it's a quick snapshot, but in the policy itself, we strengthened it to take into the comments that both of you had made at the committee meeting to, you know, as much in black and white as it could, to say what we were, you know, discussing, that while in the grand scheme, these types of procurements to NWE and SCDOB are, in some people's fashion of looking at it, be non-competitive. We do consider it competitive because it's competitive, but in those veins and those silos of who we're trying to get the most impact to, and that's, you know, because the state of New York says that that's what we're supposed to be doing. And in 2024, they raised that amount up to $750,000 in the hopes that bids can be competitively solicited to either NWBEs or STDOBs to try to stay in line with the economic development laws that establish those types of procurements, and along with New York State finance law that also mandates, while we're trying to do that, here's how you do it in your own competitive way, still putting out in the contract report, or still putting out for, you know, traditional bids, but aimed at those entities or those types of businesses that the state is asking for state agencies and authorities to live up to.
Joe or Dominic, did you have any questions or concerns about that?
No, I think it made an effort to address the discussion. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to approve resolution 15-2025, which updates our procurement policy, approves the amendments to the procurement policy. Second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, so, well, I think it rained on the canal event. Hopefully it will not rain for the 2025 tugboat roundup held the first weekend in September. This is an event that we've been doing for several years now. Our sponsorship, and we also bring our boat up, and we definitely have taken the kids, and it's really fun to be able to get on the boat, and you know, we hand out coloring materials, and it's just a really cool way for the port to be involved in the community. And so it's a sponsorship at a $500 level, and it does meet the requirements of what we are and are not allowed to sponsor. So does anyone have any questions about it? If not, I'll take a motion to approve resolution 18-2025.
Move for adoption.
Second? All in favor? Aye. So the next one is for sponsorship of Capitalize Albany's annual meeting. Last year they actually held it here at Dave & Trucking, which it was a fantastic event, talking about logistics, travel, you know, our roadways and how important they are to the manufacturing and the ability to do business in upstate. So this is for a sponsorship of $500 for their annual meeting. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? All right, I'll take a motion to approve resolution 19-2025.
Move for adoption.
Second? All in favor? Aye. So the next one, I'm not going to do. I'm going to hand it over to Roddy to go through.
Do you want to cover the whereas parts?
Oh, sure.
I think you can see what questions are, but I think it's safe for you to explain what's going to be happening next on the project development.
Sure. So, good moment in time for us to kind of review where we're at as we're closing up our pad ready phase. We're looking at moving into what we're calling the shovel ready scope of work, which is aligned with the ESD grant package. So we've had to evaluate what the best way to deliver some of and execute the construction scopes will be for this. The shovel ready program is, as a reminder, a bit smaller, more disparate sets of construction elements. So we have the substation installation, the fire pump building and intake lines, and the sanitary treatment plant. We expect that on the construction side, we would let those as individual packages, potentially combining the sanitary treatment plant and the pump station. But otherwise, moving forward, we view this as a departure really from the construction team that we've had and looking at doing it outside of construction manager. So as we move forward, we're looking at the team overall and have Labella involved so far as our owner's rep and program management role. So this is really a continuation of that type of support from that team. We've also rolled into that some of the design contracts are now going to work as a subcontract through that. And this allows us to move forward and have them responsible for some of the upfront bid package compilation and procurement side of things, as well as continuing to serve in the REI role and then the overall management, scheduling, and coordination role that they've had. So this package is really for the next 16 to 18 months worth of work that coincides with the ESD grant money, and is really meant to be a comprehensive package and one resolution that we'll be able to review.
So, clarify, who's doing the design work?
Still going to be McFarland Johnson and Moffett Nickel. They've submitted as subcontractors through Labella. So their role is really just updating the as-built to reflect the state of the site at the end of the shovel-ready project. So really removing some of the offshore wind facilities from the drawings.
So this is an additional $2.1 million?
Yes. So this would be owner's rep, resident engineering inspection, design, and some of the construction management package.
And we're gonna single source that out?
So the single source is really given that it's looked at as a continuation. The shovel ready is kind of the bow as part of the pad ready phase.
That's a big change order.
We're not looking at this as a change order. This would be a standalone.
But that's what it's, continuation of work. It's essentially just adding to an existing contract.
We plan to do it as a separate whole new
Do you have to
AIA.
furnish a breakdown of the $2 million?
Yes.
At some point?
Absolutely.
Can we table this until the next meeting so we can look at that breakdown, or is this an urgent timing issue?
The procurement side that's managed through this, so having all the design packages ready to go is the more urgent side for me, but in general, we can
Yeah, I think not
provide
having
more
the
back.
backup documentation is hard for $2 million.
You know, in the future, it'd be helpful to get some backup information with the packet, so I wouldn't be asking these questions necessarily.
Sure.
I have a better understanding of what the breakdown is.
I mean, if I'm wrong, say so. And this number is also SWIP inspections and.
Correct.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
What's
right.
what's
No,
the
I
breakdown?
understand. That's, you're right. Yes.
So
ATL work and.
the involved organizations all still have largely the same role. This is the scope and budget that provides for this next phase of work. So still getting our SWIP inspections through McFarland Johnson, still looking at Moffett Nichols.
So all the work that these guys, these subcontractors are doing, they get marked up by Labella?
No.
So I don't know that, looking at this,
Sure.
that's why I'm asking for a breakdown.
Direct pass-through. There's also ATL for inspection costs.
Right, like anytime we've done a change order, like
Or even a
McFarland,
new
there's a full
contract we got.
breakdown, right, for us to sort of
Yeah, it's
see.
unusual that they wouldn't be marking up the work of the sub, that's usually their own internal controls require that, so that's interesting.
There's some overhead staff cost associated with those, but no
Well, that's
actual
what
markup.
usually the markup is.
This is meant so more for like admin to review pay apps and do processing of invoices.
Appreciating the new source of funding.
Yeah. That's really what drove us looking at a full separate contract for this, is wanting to have a clear line in the sand for all the ESD grant work, have a before and an after, and have everything easy to assign to new funding sources.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't feel, I don't feel comfortable not knowing like how this breaks down. Is it, the $2 million is coming from the ESD grant?
Yes.
It's attached to the new funding, yeah.
Yeah, I guess, I'm not gonna stand in the way of a moving train here, but in the future, I really wanna see backup on these numbers, that's a big number. And, you know, I certainly have trust and confidence in what you're doing. but it'd be helpful in the future to have a sense of, the questions I'm asking, just having a comfort that they've been addressed in the proposal from Labella.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a departure from what you guys normally provide. Usually when these are here, there's a backup and there's a memo from McFarland Johnson for the, whatever continued, work.
We can supply that.
Sure.
For the next
Detail.
one.
Yeah.
Cause we're in the same boat for them, well, I guess not really for the next one. Alright, Joe, so you're comfortable moving forward with resolution 20-2025?
I have trust and confidence in your body, so I'll move that we, adopt resolution 2025.
Yeah, 20.
2020. But I would like to see something sent.
I'll have it to you by the end of the day.
Thank you.
Okay, so I need a second. Okay, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Sure, so the next one is for, shed 5 roof replacement. The lowest qualified bidder was Titan Roofing, for $2,800. I imagine it's pretty self-explanatory, roof replacement and lowest bidder. Does anyone have any questions about that, or?
But so we did get three replies to our bid, and as it says, the Titan was the lowest for both the bid alternate and the base cost at the $602,000.
I'll take a motion to approve resolution 21-2025. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Is there any other business before we go into executive session? Okay, so I am proposing that we go into executive session for the proposed acquisition, lease or sale of real property. I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye. So there was no action taken during executive session. Our next, board meeting is Wednesday, June 25th at noon. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? Aye.